Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. It's Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports. We got some news to discuss today. We're looking at Marcus Peters signing with the Silver and Black, and we're also going to be talking about the fact that the Raiders signed a defensive end, Isaac Rochell, and what both of these players are going to bring to the table. And then at the very, very end of the show, we'll talk a little bit about Troy Hill, who was also in for a visit today around the Silver and Black. Now, if you don't already know, Manscaped, I'm gonna need a lot of Manscaped. I canceled my pictures today, my save-the-date pictures with Alex. I'm gonna need all the Manscaped products I can get to not be in the doghouse. Go to manscaped.com. Use code Raiders for 20% off and free shipping on the best male grooming products out there. So what you're gonna see me today talk about is the Raiders signing both Peters and Isaac Rochell, and essentially how they're gonna be able to fit with the Las Vegas Raiders defense with Patrick Graham. So as it stands right now, Peters is 30 years old, and the contract details are 1 year for $5 million. It's going to add a lot of, we'll call it competition, to a Raiders cornerback room that has some good depth, but they don't really have any star-studded players into the mix there, right? I mean, we got to call a spade a spade. Peters is not a star-studded player. Nate Hobbs is the only player in that cornerback room that, it gives me any kind of, all right, this can be a game-changer type of dude. So I'll tell you which corner is going to end up making this 53-man roster and which players simply will not. But this has been a move coming for a very, very long time. We had Graphic Raider on this show all the way back in March that said he spoke with Peters at the Pro Bowl. At the Pro Bowl, and he said that, hey, I want to join this team. This is the exact quote. I spoke to Marcus Peters at the Pro Bowl, and he made it clear to me a desire to play for his childhood team, the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm big on giving people their flowers when they're due. If you see anybody out there saying that anybody besides Graf broke this news, they're wrong, and you need to be able to go out and educate them. But also, Peters had a visit on May 15th. Peters has been essentially in Las Vegas since that visit. I was on the Raiders Report last week, and I said all sources have indicated to me that the plan is for him to sign next week. He had a scheduled visit Monday with Troy Hill, and now the dotted line has been signed, and Peters is officially a Las Vegas Raider. In terms of what he's going to be able to bring to the table, he's going to be able to bring turnovers, which is what this defense desperately, and I mean desperately, needs. Even though you look at the numbers last season, 6 PBUs, 1 INT, 0 touchdowns. He had an ACL injury back in 2021, but throughout his entire career, and you're not going to get the 8 interceptions, the 6, the 5. That's not going to happen anymore for him unless, I'm telling you right now, the only way he's put up those type of numbers in interceptions is if Chandler Jones steps it the hell up, Tyree Wilson proves to be healthy, Crosby continues to do what he's best known to do. But he's going to bring that swagger, right? He's going to bring a lot of extra depth to this organization, to this defense, which I don't want to speak for Raider fans out there because I don't like when people speak for me, but this was a needed veteran move for this defense, and it's a move that, man, I'm excited about. So I want to know from all the y'all out there, what is your one-word reaction to the Marcus Peters signing? And you know what? I'm going to be real. You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break, so scroll on down while that ad is playing and let me know your one-word reaction. My one-word reaction is fit. It is a good fit with Patrick Graham's system. Every single metric, when you watch the tape and you actually see the way that I'm hoping the Raiders actually use him, if they use him in press man coverage, it's going to be a good fit. Point blank simple. I have talked about on the show that he's coming off arguably one of his worst seasons of his career, which is true. But when you actually break down the tape and you watch it, and then you go on an extra granular level and see what he did in man coverage, he was targeted 28 times. He had 12 catches caught on him for only 183 yards and a quarterback rating of 81.2. If I can get those numbers on a larger scale in the Patrick Graham system, I'm telling you right now, 1 year, $5 million, it's going to be worth it. So before today happened, this was the Raiders' cornerback depth chart. And I don't necessarily know exactly what is going to happen. If I had to forecast it, though, and if I was the one running this defense, I would kick Nate Hobbs back into the slot. I would let him do what he did when he was a rookie, when he was arguably one of the best slot corners in the NFL. And I'm going to put Duke Shelley on one side, who's got a lot of tenacity, and then I'm going to put Marcus Peters on the other side. But you got to know this. This Raiders defense is going to rely on its depth, and they are going to rely on moving a lot of players in and out based on certain situations. So, coming up here after I tell you all a little bit about Manscaped, I'm going to tell you which cornerbacks I think end up making this roster and how they ultimately fit now the fact that Peters has officially signed that dotted line. If you haven't already heard about Manscaped, well, hey, you need to listen the hell up. If you're going to be in the doghouse like me, the number one product that I can recommend is Manscaped. And go to manscaped.com, use code Raiders for 20% off. It's not only important to make sure that your balls look great, and I saw a meme the other day pop up on my Twitter and IG that said, when I hear somebody talk about Manscaped, I try not to think about their balls. I don't care if you think about my balls or not. They are 100% shaven. Like, they are as slick as both wasted and graphic Raiders head. I'm talking old man, slick cue ball. That's what I'm rocking with. But also, what makes Manscaped great is they got products to make sure that your downstairs smells great. Studies show that women care more about the way that you smell than the way that you look. So imagine you're looking down there right now. Some of y'all are like, man, that's not the prettiest thing to look at. But hey, if it smells good, that's an advantage to you. So we got ball toner, we got ball deodorant, we have all the products that you need to essentially score. Because if she gets down in the red zone and she's like, nah, man, you ain't punching it in, I feel bad for you. Manscaped helps you really cross the goal line. Use promo code Raiders at manscaped.com. That link's going to be available for you guys down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So one of the things that I did want to discuss, because this is something that I've discussed before on the show, he is coming off a career worst year in passer rating allowed, plus he has missed 21 games the last 2 seasons. So the fact that the Raiders signed him to a 1-year, $5 million deal, I was hoping it was going to be around $4 million. Okay, that's me being real. I was hoping it was going to be at 4. The fact that it's 5, he is locked and loaded, going to be making this team. Rock Ya-Sin signed a $6 million deal with his old former team, the Baltimore Ravens. And when I compare those 2 contracts, I would have rather the Raiders gone out and got Rock Ya-Sin and used that extra $1 million, maybe $1.5 million, to bring back their corner who has battled injuries. But so is Peters, though, right? Like, both of these players have battled them. So I am hoping that he can rejuvenate some of these younger players. And one of the things that I promised on this live show is this. I'm going to tell you right now which corners I believe end up making this 53-man roster if I was the one running the team. If I was the one running the team, it would be Duke Shelley, Nate Hobbs, Marcus Peters. I'm bringing back Brandon Faison. It's also going to be Ja'Cory Bennett, duh. And then I'll also throw in Tyler Hall. If you want to keep 7, that's where David Long Jr. starts coming into the mix. And I do think one of the reasons why the Raiders brought in a Peters and also brought in a guy like Troy Hill, who offers you some of that versatility, is because they might not be 100% sold on some of the other players out there. However, Brandon Faison's got $3.2 million of guaranteed money. Or not guaranteed, but that's his salary cap this upcoming year. 3.2 is a lot of money for some of those other Raiders cornerbacks, because right now, the highest paid corner on this team, it's Marcus at 5. After that, it's Brandon Faison. I am a big believer in Duke Shelley, but for David Long Jr., I go back and I think of Darius Phillips last season, the very first player that McDaniels and Ziegler signed, and ultimately he did not make this roster. So not only are we talking about Peters, I also want to talk about the other signing that ended up going down today for the Silver and Black. The Raiders also signed defensive end Isaac Rochell, and Rochell spent a small amount of time with the Raiders last season. He played in only 1 game. And I'm glad Chuggs put this note in there, and I always laugh because, let's just face it, Rochelle's more known for what he's doing on TikTok with his wife than what he's going to be doing on the football field. And am I a little bit nervous saying that? Yes, because this team doesn't need extra off-the-field attention brought to him. Chuggs whispered in my ear, diva, which I do think is a word that you can use when describing Rochelle. But to me, though, it's just extra. It's an extra battle at the defensive end position because you know Crosby's going to make this roster. Chandler Jones is going to make this roster. Then you got Tyree Wilson locked and loaded to make this roster. After that, you don't know what's going to happen. I think fully healthy, Jordan Willis is the best player out of the bunch, but is he 100% healthy? Adam Plant Jr. was my top UDFA performer from minicamp and OTAs. I know they like him a lot. Malcolm Kuntz, and this is a true fact, grew 2 inches this offseason. Where? Yeah, that's you got to ask him. And then also put on about 15 pounds of muscle. He looks like a totally different human being. I've seen him, I'm telling you, different human being. So he looks motivated. But then you got Isaac Rochell, who last season in 7 games, 12 tackles, tackle for loss, 2021, 17 tackles, and then 2019 is probably his best season is what I would end up saying here because he had some good numbers with the Los Angeles Chargers overall and got some run in the AFC West. Do I think Rochelle ends up making this 53-man? I do not. Could he end up on a practice squad? Yes, he absolutely could end up on a practice squad. And if, the whole Peters news didn't happen today, we'd be celebrating the Rochelle move a lot more. But my most important message to you is this. Whether it's my off day or if I got save the date photos with my fiance, I hope you guys understand what I'm about to tell you is this. I got you covered. I love this team, but more importantly, I love this fan base. And I am willing to put my life on the back burner because that's the job, but it's also because I love doing it. So if you want to be able to interact with a Raider fan every day, hit that subscribe button. If you want to interact with 2 crazy mother effers that are passionate about what they do, hit that subscribe button. If you want breaking news, daily videos, and I mean daily videos every single day, we've had a video go out on this channel every day for 3 years. I'm going to be live tomorrow. I'm going to be live Thursday. I'm going to be live Friday. Why? Because I am obsessed with this team. So hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and let me prove to you why we're the #1 most watched Raider show in the entire world. We do have one more thing, though, to talk about, which I'm glad Jeremy brought it up because I wanted to talk about Troy Hill. And not only did the Silver and Black bring in Peters on a visit, they also brought in Hill, who had 67 tackles last season, an interception, and 4 pass breakups. On top of that, though, I think his best quality is his versatility. He can play inside, and he can play outside as a corner. The best season that I can recall from Hill was back in 2020. That's when he was playing opposite of Jalen Ramsey, got some money, went to the Browns, didn't quite work out. Last season, he played with the Rams, and I laugh out loud a little bit here is because I was on the phone with David Zahn. This is probably about 3 hours ago at this point. And I said, or he asked me, why are they working out Hill? Can you give me some information on him? And I said that he reminds me a little bit, and y'all are going to freak out because of how bad LaMarcus Joyner was. But I do think if you would have played Joyner in the right spot, they put Joyner in a Paul Gunther system, and it was bad. Hill is a better corner than what Joyner is in terms of corner, but LaMarcus is a better safety than what Hill would be in terms of if he tried to play safety or in the nickel overall. To me, though, Hill's going to be a competitor. He's 32 years old, and guess what? There is a Patriot connection. Hill played for New England back in 2015. Now, he never played during the regular season, but he was on the roster, so he does have some of those connections, if you will, with Ziegler, with McDaniels, ended up going to the Los Angeles Rams, but there is some connection with Hill, and he's another player. If he ends up signing, depending on what the money looks like, he's got a legit shot at making that 53-man, especially because of that versatility. Now, before I leave you guys all today, remember, you can always find me on Twitter. I'm not calling it X. I just can't wrap my mind around, hey, follow me on X at Mitchell Renz 365. I mean, what's he doing in this app, man? I don't know.